This episode is brought to you by CBS. DMV is a brand new workplace comedy turning misery into magic and chaos into comedy. Starring Harriet Dyer and Tim Meadows, DMV is here to serve you laughs. Watch Mondays at 8:30, 7:30 Central on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Welcome to People Tech, the podcast of the HCM Technology Report. I'm Mark Pfeffer. This episode, an Encore presentation with Helen McGuire, the CEO of Diversely. Their platform and framework are designed to take the bias out of sourcing and help employers understand and apply their diversity data. How? That's one of the things we'll talk about on this edition of People Tech. Helen, it's nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Now, can you tell me about Diversely and how it works? I mean, is it a platform? Are you consultants? Is it some combination?
I suppose you might call it something of a combination. The idea for Diversely is to help businesses become more diverse from an employee perspective. We start at sourcing. The heart of Diversely is the platform and the D&I dashboard that we've created. So that helps you to understand, number one, how diverse you are currently. And we can help provide the data around that if you're currently unsure. It helps you to set your goals around 5 elements of diversity and then to track your progress in attracting more diverse talent with our 3 scientifically backed online tools that we've created that all work in one space in the platform and can integrate into ATSs and other recruitment software. In order to help businesses to implement this within their day-to-day, we do offer a step-by-step approach. We call it the CMA framework. It stands for Clarify, Measure and Achieve. So if you need some assistance in ensuring adoption within the business, a little bit like HubSpot, helping you to understand the why, the what and the how of diversity, then we can certainly help to provide that as well. But it's really around implementation of the tools and the platform itself, as opposed to any specific, wider training around D&I.
Okay. Now, it seems like a lot of companies are sort of wading into the whole diversity challenge right now. What makes Diversely different?
So diversity starts at the very beginning, at the very source of the problem, if you like. What our research found was that although 80% of businesses said they wanted to do something about D&I, 60% had some kind of measures in place, only 20% were satisfied with their results, and only 5% could actually measure whether the things that they were putting in place to improve diversity were actually working or not. So we start with data. We have an API that plugs into data that helps you to understand how diverse you are across 3 different elements, so gender, age, and race and ethnicity. And we are also geographically located. So there are other tools and platforms out there that might assist with this on a specific basis, depending on where you are in the world. We are very mindful of the fact that diversity looks very different depending on where you might live and the area in which you want to hire. So we help you to understand what those benchmarks are for your specific location, and then obviously to reach a better level of diversity depending on the specific ethnic, racial, age, even things like sexual orientation and disability factors that you might want to hire for.
Now, who's the end user? Is it HR? Is it the hiring manager, the recruiter?
Yeah, so generally when we speak to businesses, we speak at a much higher level. So let's say CHROs, global talent acquisition directors, heads of D&I, and recruiters, recruitment leads within recruitment firms. But the end users are talent acquisition, recruitment, and sometimes hiring managers as well. So really what we try and do is connect the dots between those two groups of people, because obviously there needs to be an understanding of the why around diversity and of the goals that really that are in place from a strategy perspective, in order for the end users to want to use the tools and the platform itself.
Now, the topic of diversity has gotten a lot of attention, or the subject of diversity, over the last couple of years. And I'm wondering, have you found that people's and employers' perceptions about diversity have really changed?
I've been working in this space for many years. I previously set up a women's careers platform before even #MeToo or Black Lives Matter in its current form. And certainly at that point, I was having to convince people as to why hiring more women was a good idea, let alone actually getting them to do so. So yeah, attitudes have massively changed over the last 5 to 10 years, and particularly over the last couple of years. I think there was always an awareness around, we need to do better. There are an awful lot of stats out there that point towards diversity being something that helps businesses, helps their bottom line, and helps push them forward in terms of ingenuity and innovation, amongst many other things. I think there just weren't as many ways to actually address the situation. There was far less action oriented movement in this space. What we see now is businesses truly understanding the value of diversity to that business, and also understanding that they need to get a grip on where they are currently and to be more inclusive. You really need to widen the funnel at the very beginning of the process in order to attract diverse talent if you're going to solve the problem internally further upstream. So there's just a better understanding of the processes and the action needed to make the difference, as opposed to just the problem.
Greetings from Evergreen Podcasts. We're rolling out a listener survey, and we want to hear from you. The information in the survey will help us gather statistics and in turn make our shows more appealing to advertisers. I know most people don't like ads, but this is one of the only ways our shows make money and help keep their lights on. We promise it will only take a few minutes, but the impact on our podcasts will be tremendous. As a token of our appreciation, we'll randomly select one lucky participant each month to win an exclusive merchandise package from Evergreen Podcasts. Head to evergreenpodcast.com/listener survey to help a show and possibly get some free stuff for doing so. We can't thank you enough for the support. Now back to the show.
And what about the rank and file? Do you have any thoughts about their thinking? Is that evolving also, or are they lagging their corporate leadership?
Yeah, corporate leadership is leading the way in many respects, because they are beholden to public opinion, to their shareholders. There is a huge war for talent that's happening right now, as many of us will be aware. And in order to really stand out, we found that 76% of candidates see D&I as a real game changer, a real way in which businesses can stand out. So this is kind of an easy win, really, for the corporates. If they can solve this problem, not only do they tick their legislation box in terms of reporting, both externally and internally, they also attract the talent that they desperately need in order to grow and steal a march on their competitors as well. And where you see corporates making a noise about this, it drips down, further down the line to SMEs and to smaller businesses as well, because we're all competing for the same talent, right? So if you're not doing something that your bigger competitor is doing, or if you can do it better, then you're more likely to get that talent through the door. So there's definitely a huge movement there.
I've talked to a lot of technology vendors or solutions providers, and more of them seem to be wading in to some kind of diversity solution. Can you put technology into context for me? I mean, in terms of diversity, what role can technology really play?
So diversity, and as we know, the hiring funnel is an incredibly long process. It starts right at the beginning, where we begin, and it ends up with selection, onboarding, retention, the whole life cycle. We've chosen to start at the very beginning of the process because we feel that's where the biggest impact can be made. And you really can't execute a good D&I strategy if you ignore that. However, there are now tech solutions at pretty much every stage of the hiring funnel. And these tech solutions help to negate bias the whole way along, help to improve inclusivity and, of course, diversity. What's really helpful from a tech perspective is if those solutions are integrated within your day-to-day. You never want diversity and inclusion to feel like an added burden, something extra that you have to do. TA and recruiters are busy enough as it is. So those solutions that integrate into the likes of Greenhouse and Workable and Recruitee and Bullhorn and so on, as ours does, are really night and day away from having a company away day or having some learning around it on a lunch and learn. It really is something that impacts a day-to-day process and changes the way that people view things and can attract more diverse talent. And that's really how tech is changing D&I. It's getting to the source of the problems and it's becoming integrated into everybody's way of working because it simply helps you achieve better results. And it's a very new way of thinking of it for sure.
Now, do you have any advice for employers, executives or managers about how they should approach the whole question of ensuring diversity?
There's a lot of information out there that's helpful. We have 2 downloadable guides if you head over to diversity.io and a bunch of resources on the platform, one of which is exactly around a D&I starter kit that helps businesses to understand how to get started across the whole hiring funnel. The other is around the HR tech. So to your question, what is tech doing in D&I and how is it helping? So there's 2 guides there, but there's plenty of other stuff across the internet as well. I think if you're truly at the very beginning of your journey and you really don't know where to start, of course, I'm going to say, start with sourcing, start at the very beginning of the process, but that's not always relevant for every business, particularly much smaller businesses. But there are many excellent consultants out there, to mention a few: Dina Williams, Jenny Child, Joe Major, who are all doing brilliant things in the D&I space and really just getting companies started if they're really stuck.
Helen, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
My guest today has been Helen McGuire, the CEO of Diversely, and this has been People Tech, the podcast of the HCM Technology Report. We're a publication of Recruiting Daily. We're also a part of Evergreen Podcasts. To see all of their programs, visit www.evergreenpodcasts.com. And to keep up with HR technology, visit the HCM Technology Report every day. We're the most trusted source of news in the HR tech industry. Find us at www.hcmtechnologyreport.com. I'm Mark Pfeffer.
Do you love news about LinkedIn, Indeed, Google, and just about every other recruitment tech company out there?
Hell yeah. I'm Chad.
I'm Cheese.
We're the Chad and Cheese Podcast.
All the latest recruiting news and insights are on our show.
Dripping in snark and attitude.
Subscribe today wherever you listen to your podcasts. We out.
The world's best-known investor and Wall Street expert Warren Buffett once said, "Wall Street is the only place that people ride to in a Rolls-Royce to get advice from those who take the subway." Mr. Buffett's quote is remarkably accurate, but how many people would rather receive advice from him than someone simply guessing? Welcome to Buy, Hold, Sell, your single source for Wall Street knowledge and profitable guidance. Please join me, Todd Schoenberger, and fellow trader Tobin Smith, as well as host Veronica Dudo, for a podcast known to move the needle for investors. Tobin and I are seasoned Wall Street executives with deep investment experience, and we are prepared to share our advice to those who choose to listen. Download Buy, Hold, Sell today on the Evergreen Podcast Network or your favorite podcast channel.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, And LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.